So while the world right now is full of nation states and countries that are always at odds with each other, the future of humanity, however, as portrayed in many science fiction works, shows a world or a political system that is united and is often interstellar in scale. Some, like the Earth Alliance from Babylon 5, only have several dozen planets and star systems in its domain, while others, like in the Alien universe, the Xenomorph universe, have no estimates at all, but we can only guess. And there are also the incomprehensibly large human downstreamers and a multivac from The Last Question, which became multiversal in scale, and these kinda defeat the point of scaling here. So anyway, here in this video we have put together a list of the 15 biggest human space empires in all of sci-fi, the ones with scaling that can be understood by us mortals. Let's get banging. At 15 we have the 100 Worlds of the Enderverse. So this is the setting of Ender's Game, which takes place decades and centuries in the future after humanity survived two devastating invasions by the Formics, or otherwise known as the Buggers. In response to this existential threat, Earth's nations unify under the powerful international fleet, creating a highly militarized interstellar civilization and power, which was focused on survival, expansion, and the preparation for another war with the Formics. Humanity here spreads through hundreds of star systems, establishing colonies, industrial worlds, which are all connected through the governing body known as the Starways Congress. By the era of the later novels, this human sphere is often called the 100 Worlds, a confederation encompassing roughly 100 major planets alongside many smaller colonies and frontier settlements. Although not a galaxy-spanning empire in the full sci-fi sense, it still represents one of the largest unified human civilizations ever seen in science fiction. Next, at 14, we have the Terran Alliance of Battletech. So from the Battletech universe we have the Terran Alliance, the predecessor of the Terran Hegemony, which was the unified government of humanity evolving from the Western Alliance on Earth into a centralized interstellar superstate that dominated human civilization during the 21st through 23rd centuries. At the height of its power around the year 2235, the Alliance controlled more than 600 inhabited star systems, spread across roughly 120 light years from Terra or Earth, although only about 360 of those worlds were firmly administered, while many French colonies operated autonomously or even illegally. This made the Terran Alliance one of the largest human political entities in the early Battletech history, which encompassed Earth, the entire solar system, and a vast network of colonies. Next, at 13, we have the Commonwealth from Peter F. Hamilton's The Void Trilogy, or the Commonwealth Saga, and this represents one of the most technologically advanced and socially transformed human civilizations in science fiction. The setting here is in the 34th century, and the Commonwealth spans approximately 1200 star systems linked through wormhole networks and advanced starships, creating a densely interconnected interstellar society which spread across huge regions of the galaxy. Unlike more militarized empires in other sci-fi works, the Commonwealth is fundamentally a post-scarcity civilization driven by biotechnology, quantum physics, virtual existence, and radical human enhancement, kinda like the culture from Ian M. Banks, but this one is ruled by humans. See, humanity here has largely conquered aging and disease through genetic enrichments, with most citizens possessing augmented senses and body upgrades, and this is seen all throughout the 1200 star system controlled by the Commonwealth. Number 12. The Laconian Empire from the Expanse. See, the Expanse was a setting that started firstly in the interplanetary range, but then spread out outwards into the interstellar domain. Here, the Laconian Empire from the Expanse was the first regime in human history to successfully dominate nearly all known human inhabited star systems, transforming itself from a breakaway Martian military colony into a galaxy-spanning authoritarian empire. The empire emerged after humanity gained access to thousands of ring-gate-connected worlds through the proto-molecule network. Laconia eventually conquered the established powers of Earth, Mars, and the Transport Union, placing itself at the center of human civilization and exerting authority over 1,300 colony systems spread across the Milky Way galaxy. Unlike other human governments in science fiction that relied on broad federations or democratic alliances, this Laconian empire was openly totalitarian and heavily militarized, built around absolute obedience, censorship, and the belief that humanity required centralized control to survive. 11. The Solarian League of the Honorverse. So the Solarian League from the Honor Harrington universe was the dominant human superpower for centuries and arguably one of the largest interstellar governments in military science fiction. The League grew into an immense confederation centered around Earth and the Solar System, controlling more than 2,000 member and protectorate worlds spread across roughly a 100 light-year radius. Despite its enormous size, however, the Solarian League was politically decentralized and notoriously inefficient. Officially, it functioned as a confederation where every member would possess equal representation and each one of the worlds would have veto power in the League Assembly. This creates a paradoxical empire, a technologically advanced interstellar state, economically unmatched and militarily strong yet stagnant, very corrupt, and very slow to react to crises. On the 10th spot we have the Terran Empire of Star Trek. So this one originates from the alternate version of Earth where humanity embraced authoritarianism and expansionism. The empire grew into colossal galactic power controlling several thousand worlds across known space. At its height, Terran rule extended over territories that in the Prime Universe belonged to powers like the United Federation of Planets, the Klingon Empire, the Romulan Star Empire, and the Cardassian Union, including Vulcan and many of its colonies. Unlike the Federation's cooperative alliance of species, this Terran Empire operated as a brutal imperial regime where conquered civilizations and alien species were subjugated through overwhelming force, through political terror, slavery, and even constant displays of military dominance. Expansionism was viewed as both humanity's destiny and their proof of superiority. Number 9. Anime here has an entry in this list, and this is the Galactic Empire from Legends of the Galactic Heroes. This was one of the biggest and longest lasting human empires in space opera fiction. It was founded by Rudolf von Goldenbaum after the collapse of a democratic government. The empire here transformed humanity into a rigid feudal state centered on absolute loyalty to the Kaiser, to the aristocracy, and it is completely in a militarized authoritarian control. At its height, the empire controlled the overwhelming majority of human colony worlds throughout the galaxy, likely over 3,000 known worlds, including Earth itself, with the entire population eventually exceeding 100 billion people, and then later grew to beyond 120 billion during the Long War with the Free Planets Alliance. Number 8. Humanity of Halo. So from the setting of Halo, here we have firstly the Unified Earth Government, which was humanity's interstellar government in the 25th and 26th century, overseeing a massive network of colonies spread across a significant portion of the Orion arm of the Milky Way galaxy. Before the Human Covenant War, humanity controlled roughly 1,200 inhabited locations, including full planetary colonies, moons, asteroid settlements, and military outposts, and even industrial stations. But humanity in the modern era is just a fraction of what it was in the ancient past. Back then, humanity was far more advanced than the modern UNSC, and they had built a huge interstellar civilization, and they were called the ancestors or ancient humanity. Long before modern humans ever existed, these ancient humans spread across massive regions of the Milky Way galaxy, colonizing 20,000 worlds over nearly 30,000 light-years of space stretching from Earth towards the outer edges of the Orion arm. Their empire was considered the second greatest military power in the galaxy after the Forerunners, and they were powerful enough to even seriously challenge Forerunner control, but for a time. Now on the 7th spot we have the Empire from the Dune universe. We jump in scale here. Here we come to the Empire of Frank Herbert's Dune. This was one of the most expansive human civilizations ever seen in sci-fi, although its true scale changes dramatically across the saga. Even though the term known universe is thrown out here and there, the Empire likely controlled only the explored and colonized portions of humanity's domain, probably spanning much of the Milky Way galaxy rather than the literal universe itself. Immediately after the Butlerian Jihad, the Landsrat already influenced more than 13,300 worlds, which is a number that was stated by Frank Herbert himself. Then under leader the second Atreides, the God Emperor, humanity became centralized, enduring over 3,500 years of rigid imperial control across countless planets. By the time of the Heretics of Dune and Chapter House Dune, the surviving old empire alone is referred to as encompassing the million planets, which implies that human civilization had expanded to an almost incomprehensible scale. Now number 6. This is another entry from anime. Here we have the Greater Garmillan Empire, a gigantic intergalactic human empire in the space battleship Yamato universe that ruled enormous regions of space, and even intergalactic space. At its height under supreme leader called Abel Dessler, this empire controlled the entire large Magellanic Cloud. much of the small Magellanic Cloud as well, and even territories extending into the Milky Way galaxy itself. This made Garmillas one of the largest known powers in this setting, spanning multiple dwarf galaxies and ruling over conquered races, colonies, and subject planets on a massive scale. Originally formed to save the Garmillan people from the slow death of their homeworld, this empire then rapidly expanded under the Desolate Doctrine, conquering other civilizations and fighting rival powers like the Gatlantis Empire, which was another huge human empire in the same universe, which controlled roughly the same number of planets, which range from 100,000 to a million. Now we come to the top 5, and on the 5th spot we have the fourth and great bountiful human empire from Doctor Who, which was an enormous future human empire that ruled across space during the height of humanity's power. According to the Doctor, the empire stretched across a million planets and a million species, meaning humans had spread through a huge part of the galaxy and were connected to countless alien races. Earth itself had become a giant city world with about 96 billion people and even 5 artificial moons orbiting it. This empire was supposed to be a golden age filled with advanced technology, trade, culture, and peace, with humanity playing a major role in galactic civilization. Even though this empire later ran into corruption and attacks from the Daleks, it was still considered one of the biggest human empires ever in Doctor Who. On the 4th spot we have the Imperium of Man. In Warhammer 40k, humanity lives mostly united under the gigantic Imperium of Man, a massive empire ruled in the name of the immortal God Emperor of mankind, which is stuck on the Golden Throne. The Imperium is unbelievably huge, stretching across most of the Milky Way galaxy and controlling around a million inhabited worlds. But the real size of humanity's empire is probably even bigger, because over 10,000 years of war, disasters, warp storms, alien invasions, and rebellions, all this have caused countless human worlds to be lost, forgotten, or cut off from the rest of the Imperium. Some lost colonies have survived alone for centuries without even knowing that the Imperium still exists, while others fell into chaos, to aliens, or complete destruction. Even with a million worlds, the Imperium is still constantly struggling to hold itself together because the galaxy is so enormous and there are enemies everywhere, the Xenos, the Heretics, and the Mutants. But during its heyday, or its peak, during the dark age of technology, the number of worlds under human control would be far greater, but back then it was uncertain if there was a central ruling political system, an empire, or a series of confederations that hold humanity together. On the 3rd spot we have the Galactic Empire from Foundation from Isaac Asimov's works. This was one of the biggest human civilizations ever imagined, even bigger than the Imperium of Man from 40k. Humanity here has spread across the entire Milky Way galaxy, colonizing around 25 million inhabited planets, with a population that reached hundreds of quadrillions of people. The empire was ruled by a set of 3 clones of the Galactic Emperor from the city planet called Trantor. At its peak, the empire connected almost every human world in the Milky Way galaxy through hyperspace travel, and it feels like a futuristic version of the ancient Roman Empire. But still, the empire slowly became weaker because of corruption, civil wars, and infighting. The scientist Harry Seldon predicted that the empire would collapse and that humanity would fall into a dark age, into thousands of years of chaos. Over time, more and more other regions broke away into barbarian states, while the empire shrank back towards its rich central worlds. Eventually, even the mighty Trantor was sacked, and the once galaxy-wide empire was reduced to about only 20 farming worlds before finally being swallowed up by newer powers. At number 2 we have the Galactic Empire from Star Wars. So this was one of the largest and most powerful human-led governments ever in science fiction. See, after the fall of the Galactic Republic at the end of the Clone Wars, Emperor Palpatine transformed the galaxy into a huge authoritarian empire ruled through fear, propaganda, and military force. At its peak, the empire controlled about 1.5 million full member and conquered worlds, along with more than 69 million colonies, protectorates, territories, and puppet states, which are spread across most of the known galaxy, even in the outer rims and wild space. The overall territory stretched across 120,000 light years, covering nearly the entire Star Wars galaxy. For around 20 years, it stood almost completely unchallenged, but small rebel groups slowly united into the Alliance to restore the Republic, and eventually into the Rebel Alliance, which eventually defeated the Empire after major battles like in Yavin and Endor. And number 1, the Interim Coalition of Governance from the Xeelee Sequence. We end this video with the ICG of Humanity from the Xeelee Sequence by Stephen Baxter. Here humanity reached one of the largest and most extreme empires in all of science fiction, aside from the Downstreamers and the Multivac. And this was during the era of the Coalition and the later anti-Zealy wars. At its peak, humanity controlled or heavily colonized most of the Milky Way galaxy outside the dense galactic core known as the Prime Radiant, which remained dominated by the godlike Zealy. Humanity expanded across tens of thousands of light years, conquering alien civilizations, absorbing advanced technologies, and expanding through countless star systems over hundreds of thousands of years. Later human civilizations even expanded beyond the galaxy through the Boulder's Ring, which was a gateway to alternate universes. And here they attempted to carry the war against the Zealy across the entire cosmos. But by around 1 million AD, the Zealy finally crushed humanity's intergalactic expansion and confined the remnants of the species back to its home planet in the solar system. And with that, we end this video on the biggest human space empires in all of science fiction. Now with that, we end this video. Do hit the like button for support and also click that bell button for regular updates on new video uploads. Also subscribe to be a part of Legion Notbug. Till the next time, take care, boys.